In part 1, we asked how does Paramount, historically cautious, almost quiet, became the most aggressive bidder in the room. We gave you the architecture, the legacy giant with velocity problems, the modern engine called Skydance, the hostile bid that bypassed the board and spoke directly to the shareholders. We left you with 3 forces in play and no resolution. Now there is one. Welcome to Build to Brand. This is part 2, and the story got considerably more complicated. February 26, 2026. Netflix walks away. Not because the assets weren't valuable, not because the deal stopped making strategic sense on paper, but because the price required to win had climbed past what Netflix was willing to pay. Netflix co-CEOs Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters said it plainly. This was always a nice-to-have at the right price, not a must-have at any price. The company that reshaped the entire entertainment industry just described a $100 billion acquisition as optional. That's not weakness, that's a very particular kind of discipline. Meanwhile, Paramount's final offer stood at $31 per share, all cash for the whole company. Total deal value, $111 billion. A 63% increase from where this began the previous September. Warner's CEO, David Zaslav, noted the process produced 8 successive price increases from Paramount's opening offer. The board voted Paramount superior. Netflix had 4 days to respond. It didn't. Instead, Netflix collected a $2.8 billion termination fee paid by Paramount as part of the deal structure and exited cleanly. Paramount, for its part, attached a $7 billion regulatory termination fee to the deal. That number is the message. We are serious enough about this that we'll absorb that liability if it falls apart in review. The bidding war is over. David Ellison wins. This is the part that doesn't fit neatly into a business school case study. The morning after Netflix clinched its initial deal in December, the morning Zaslav closed the door on Paramount, David Ellison assembled a war room. 3 simultaneous campaigns launched: a lawsuit, a hostile tender offer, and a direct lobbying effort targeting the Trump administration and Republican members of Congress. People close to the process described it as a master battle plan, extremely disciplined. Paramount hired McCann Delarem, Trump's former antitrust chief, to lead the regulatory strategy because from day one, Ellison understood something. This wasn't only a financial contest, it was a political one. And in that arena, the Ellison family had structural advantages that don't appear on a balance sheet. Larry Ellison, Oracle founder, presidential advisor, major donor, has proximity to the Trump White House that few private citizens can claim. The Justice Department's deadline to raise antitrust concerns with the deal passed without a word from the administration. Then, 2 days before Netflix walked, David Ellison attended Trump's State of the Union address as a personal guest of Senator Lindsey Graham. The 2 men posed for a photograph, thumbs up, grinning, posted to Graham's account. That image is not incidental. On the same Thursday that Warner's board declared Paramount superior, Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos was at the White House. He met with Trump administration officials, and within hours, Netflix withdrew. Senator Elizabeth Warren was immediate and direct. What did Trump officials tell the Netflix CEO that day? She called it crony capitalism, the president corrupting a merger process in favor of the Ellison family. Netflix says the price was simply too high. The market agreed. Netflix's stock rose nearly 9% the morning they walked away. Here's the uncomfortable truth about this moment. Both things can be true simultaneously. Netflix may have genuinely concluded the price no longer made financial sense. Discipline is authentically core to how Netflix operates. They don't overpay. They never have. And there may also have been conversations, pressures, and signals that don't appear in formal statements, and never will. What we can say is this: the visible architecture of the deal, the financial logic, the strategic rationale sits alongside a less visible architecture of political relationships and power proximity. As students of how things actually work, we can examine only the first layer because the second is harder to see. Let's take stock of what David Ellison now controls, pending final regulatory and shareholder approval. Warner Bros. Studio, HBO and HBO Max, DC Comics, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Paramount's own library, Top Gun, Mission Impossible, Star Trek, CNN, CBS News, TBS, TNT, Food Networks, Discovery. And through his father's investment consortium, a significant stake in TikTok US. Add to that Oracle, which operates critical portions of American digital and government infrastructure. The lens some analysts are now using isn't one company, it's one family. A former senior executive at both CNN and CBS framed it directly. This is tech giants becoming media giants. The real price beneath the content and the brands is data. Behavioral data, viewer data, consumer data, the kind of granularity that fuels the next generation of AI systems and recommendation infrastructure. This isn't just consolidation of entertainment, it's consolidation of attention and the industrial apparatus to monetize it. No part of this deal carries more symbolic weight than CNN. A president who spent years attacking the network, a future owner whose family has deep ties to that president. The Wall Street Journal reported in December that Ellison privately assured Trump administration officials he would make sweeping changes at CNN if the deal went through. Paramount did not confirm or deny. The pattern at CBS since Ellison's arrival has been observable. A lawsuit settlement with the administration over a 60 Minutes edit, the appointment of Barry Weiss, a right-leaning opinion journalist with no television news experience, as editor-in-chief of CBS News, the cancellation of the late-night show with Stephen Colbert, a delayed 60 Minutes segment critical of administration policy, Anderson Cooper's announced departure. The counter-evidence also exists. Jon Stewart's contract was renewed. Weiss herself has stated there has been no direct editorial interference. CBS News continues to publish reporting critical of the administration. The picture is genuinely contradictory, which may itself be the editorial strategy. In a fractured media environment, ambiguity functions as cover. It lets the institution claim independence while the overall direction drifts, gradually, deniably, without a single decisive moment anyone can point to. In part 1, we offered a clean framework. Netflix's brand inevitability, Warner's brand legacy in transition, Paramount's brand assertion. Part 2 adds a layer, because what Paramount demonstrated in this campaign wasn't just assertion. It was the willingness and the capacity to operate on multiple planes simultaneously. Financial, legal, political, relational. David Ellison didn't simply outbid Netflix. He out-architected them. He understood that in a transaction of the scale, the competition is never purely over price. It's over access, over which interests are aligned with whose, over who the people with power believe you to be. Paramount answered that question deliberately, systematically, over several months, and constructed a deal that looked improbable in December and inevitable by February. That is, in its own way, a masterclass in institutional brand building. Not the consumer-facing kind, the kind that operates in rooms most people never see. David Ellison set out to own Warner Bros. Discovery. He got there through financial persistence, legal aggression, franchise discipline, political proximity, and a father's guarantee. The minnow swallowed the whale. And if the regulatory approvals follow, one family will control CBS, CNN, HBO, Warner Bros., TikTok US, and Oracle. Whether that is extraordinary in the way that builds great storytelling institutions, or extraordinary in the way that concentrates narrative power in ways democratic societies have historically been wary of, is a question this deal does not answer. It only raises it more loudly now than before. Because the thing about building at scale is that at some point, the architecture stops being about the company. It starts being about everyone the company reaches. And in media, that is everyone.